All right, let's talk about Rob Eson. Getting ready for year number 2. Last season, the Flames finished 17-14 overall, 10-10 in the Valley, 5th place. They were the darlings early in the season. You beat a really good Yale team in your building. You hand Drake their first loss of the year. You go to Bradley and just hammer the Braves, and you're like, hello, UIC. And then the last 3 weeks of the year, things kind of fell apart. Does the end of the year, by all metrics, this was the best season, or certainly since COVID, and one of the best seasons of the last decade plus at UIC. Does the end of the year tarnish the overall product in your mind from last season?
Yeah, so last year, you're sitting and you're doing play-by-play, and you're seeing things that you're not used to seeing, like winning at Bradley.
Right.
Jeff, that doesn't happen. Like just actually winning, going to Peoria and winning at Bradley, which was amazing. And then to be able to have what you mentioned, just a win against a tournament team like Yale, to be able to give Drake their first loss of the season at home. And you're saying, who are these Flames? And I think that what stood out to me is, number one, the shooting profile, because we were shooting it a ton, especially from 3. So we had a prolific shooting profile there. And then from there, just, as good as the season was early, I think we ran out of gas.
Yeah.
I don't understand. I packed 4 outfits for St. Louis for a reason, because I expect to be there for 4 dates. And once again, we go home early. So the expectation is that I'll be able to at least wear more than one outfit coming up for Arch Madness.
When you look at departures, and it was a bunch, and at the top, it's kind of surprising almost for Haywood. It's such a great year to have so many guys leave the program. Leading scorer Javon Jackson stays in conference, goes down the road to Murray State, but you lose some guys to some big places. Jordan Mason going to Temple, Sasa Shiani going to Penn State, graduate 6 guys. I mean, it was a lot leaving, but in terms of the top guy, I guess, Javon Jackson staying in conference, how much of an impact is his departure going to have on the Flames this season, you believe?
I think that the whole dynamic changes, JB. So here's what my expectations. My expectations for this season is, I'm not sure if the Flames will be able to shoot it the way that they did last year, because it's a whole different team. I think that what they want to do is recruit for size.
Mm-hmm.
And ever since that we came to the Valley, I just knew that it was going to be a rock fight, as you well know, in this conference. It is very difficult, especially late in the season into Arch Madness, to be able to find a way to get baskets. And so I thought that the Flames did a good job of being able to recruit for size, because you know how this conference works. You get pushed out of the lane easily. It's more physical. And I just think that the Flames last year had a hard time dealing with the physicality, especially our guards. So this is why they got Makai Lowry, who's 6'7". They've got Beljean, who's 6'10". They've got Silverstein, that's 6'7". Momo, that's 6'8". Walker, 6'6". Johnson, 6'6". It was important for the Flames to be able to recruit for some size. It's one thing to be able to have a great opportunity to shoot the ball at a high clip, but you know how this league gets. If you are not physical, if you're not being able to get to your spot in the painted area, and you get pushed out of there, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to score and for you to be able to concentrate. So I think that the dynamic is different. Last year, a lot of guards that can shoot the ball, a lot of bigs that can shoot the ball from the outside. I think more now, I think they're looking to attack the rim more, move the ball side to side, be able to get a good shot if they can. But it's the second chance opportunities I think we missed a lot last year. I think that they recruited towards that and more for this season.
Before we kind of get into the guys who have arrived individually, I was struck by the amount of Chicago dudes that Rob Eson was able to go get. When you see a Josiah Hammonds and a Sam Silverstein and a Ty Walters Whitaker and a Makai Lowry, guys from Chicago, Ahmad Henderson already there, a Chicago kid. What is it about that place? And man, what just the Chicago dynamic that you can probably explain to us that aren't from there, that it's just like, man, maybe I went out and tried something other places, but if I get a chance to come home, I'm going to come home. And what a recruiting chip that Rob Eson's able to just throw down on the table to these guys.
We're incredibly provincial here.
Yeah.
Because Because you could find someone that's our age and older that could be able to tell stories of the battles of the public league in Chicago and the rock fights that would happen there in the 80s and the 90s, and just how you go to a gym and the walls would sweat because there's so many people there, where the fire department says, "Oh, there's not too many people here. I'm enjoying the game too." They would just turn their heads like, "No, no, more people could come in, sure," because you knew you had an attraction, right?
Yep.
And so it was that way in the past. It's that way at times here in Chicago now, but it's nothing like playing in front of your own family and friends. I think that you can understand you're 17, 18, 19, you want to get away from home, you want to get away from mom and dad because you want to explore, but there's nothing like coming home. And JB, I think that from Isan's standpoint, bringing Chicago guys in, I think mattered to him. It gives him a kind of a leg up. I know it's a different dynamic now because you're not recruiting as a freshman. You're hoping they'd come to your program, but because it's the Wild West, if you can
Yeah.
bring your guys home back to Chicago, you will. And I think that Isan did a great job of that, understanding the importance of recruiting Chicago kids.
A couple non-Chicago kids, but guys that very much intrigue me coming in this season. One of them is a young man that statistically didn't do much last year, but Elijah Crawford averaged a
Yeah.
point a game at BYU at a Sweet 16 team and a really good program. But look, this is a kid that was a top 100 kid coming out of high school. What is the vibe right now around Elijah Crawford, and maybe what kind of immediate impact he might be able to have this season?
Saw him practice several times. I'm going to practice, not practicing now. They're practicing on Monday, so I'll be able to watch more of him. I just think that athleticism comes to play, an opportunity to play for this UIC team, and with Rob Eson, like he loves his offense, but you got to be able to guard too. You've got to be able to guard to be have minutes on his team. I saw that firsthand last year. And so I think that he could be definitely in the mix as someone that could be a catalyst for this team.
The other young man is, and I hope I get his name right, Abdul Mamo from
Hmm.
Central Connecticut State, who was averaged averaged about 9 points a game. But you talk about defense, he was the Northeast Conference Defensive Player of the Year. This one has to just make Coach Eson's heart sing a little bit.
Well, yeah, because again, we're talking about size. Look,
Yeah,
you love a versatile big, someone that could be able to put the ball on the floor, go to the basket, can shoot a little bit from the outside. But also, I think it's so important for the rebounding aspect because I don't think the Flames had enough of that last year. You had the skill, but you didn't have the strength and the enough, I think, last year. And so I think that he definitely, Abdul, brings something to the table here with, yes, he could do a lot of different things offensively, but it's important to be able to get that second chance and that rebounding aspect. Toughness is so important. I can't emphasize, you know this, JB, sitting at courtside. And in our league, that one rebound, that key rebound could be the
yeah,
difference in a win or a loss.
for sure.
That I mean, it is that important, the little things in our league. Other leagues can get away with missing a rebound, missing a free throw there, but again, it's so tight. So I think that Abdul can bring that to the table. I'm looking forward to calling his game.
The part about the portal, and every situation is different, and I can speak from from Murray State's perspective. Got 15 new
Yeah,
guys, but
yeah.
you look at what did they do last year, and it's like, well, scored 2 points here, scored 3 points there, scored 1 point there, and it's sort of untapped potential. You're hoping that you're going to bet on the pedigree and the ceiling. You look at what Rob Eson has brought in, and you see Amamo, who scored 9 points a game at Central Connecticut, and Josiah Hammond scored 7 at Sam Houston, and Chris Walker scored
Yeah.
11 and a half at Binghamton. Ante Bellion 10 at Little Rock. These dudes have done it at the Division One level, maybe a half a level below the Missouri Valley, but there's some dudes that know what they're doing coming in, and it feels like when I look at the preseason polls, I think Blue Ribbon had UIC at 9. I'm like, man, that's just. I feel like we are second year in a row really underselling this Flames program.
But it's like anything else. So the people that make the poll and also the players don't know what they don't know.
Right.
See, so even last year, right? You could go to a Flames player and say, we haven't done that before. We never scored 100 points before in a game or somewhere in the 90 to 100-point clip. They don't know that. They just know basketball. You
Right.
know that you broke this record, record, this record. You have a scurrying through the play, the record books of all the things that you've done. They don't know that. And so the same thing with everyone that has to be able to make a poll, which it's nonsense, right? We
Correct.
don't know because everyone's new, JB. We could have an educated guess, but
Right.
we don't know what's going to happen. I just think it's funny that you're on the same social media that I am, and people already have it figured out who's going to win the Valley. You sure? You sure Illinois State is that much better than everybody else head and shoulders above the rest? You sure Bradley is better than everybody? You sure that Javon Jackson can't increase the shooting profile for Murray? You sure about that? So that's why it's too bad that we're so much in the dark. But here we are when it
Right.
comes to college basketball. There was a time where you and I could sit down and have a few daddy sodas and be able to just
Oh,
mark it down because we knew the rosters.
yeah.
We knew exactly. All right, well, this guy's coming back, this guy's coming back, and we got one transfer, but it's so different now. So no one knows anything. Even me, I don't know anything.
Well, it's there's nothing better than yelling about preseason polls than being uneducated and yelling about preseason polls, and loud idiots are the
Right.
best idiots. So, um, the addition, the returners, not many, obviously, but I think it begins obviously and ends with a young man by the name of Ahmad Henderson, a guy that, boy, put him on the free throw line, certainly
Yeah.
automatic, but uh, he had 21 games last year in double figures, started 16. He's going to be sort of the straw that stirs the drink, I guess, for this offense this year. What are you expecting? What can we expect from a getting better and sort of getting closer to his full potential that maybe we saw a year ago from Ahmad?
So he can't do anything about his size because his size is his size. He's a dynamic, small lead guard. So what we saw him do, JB, is go from the foul line down and go to the basket. And I love that, his willingness as a smaller guard to be able to go to the basket. But then the way he was able to shoot the basketball was incredible as well. Like the matchup that I loved watching was Ahmad Henderson against Duke Dean because that
Yeah,
now it's a carnival act, right? Now you have the
sure.
shortest guys on the floor, and now how do they get past one another, right? Because they're battling, going back and forth, and the shortest guys on the floor. Ahmad he's got to be better defensively, but again, he can't do anything about his size, and he knows that. But I love what the young man does with his heart and his moxie. Those are sports terms that we use all the time to describe a person that is an underachiever that's turning into an overachiever. The way he shoots the basketball, and by the way, because he's a holdover from last year, it's his team now. I'm not sure if it was his team last year. He comes over, but now because he's in year two with this coaching staff and with Rob Eson, it's his team. So his leadership skills are going to even be paramount, I think, to this team with all his new teammates that he has now with the Flames.
The part that struck me early last year, I think this was really, it felt like sort of the offensive mission statement for this UIC team, but Ahmad was right in the middle of all of it was going to get the rebound. We're going to get it to our guard, and they're going to go 100 miles an hour down the floor. And if you aren't going to get in their way, it's a layup. And that was it was almost like it caught people off guard that this little dude is going to try to get to the cup if he can. And he did and was able to finish. And he's just, this, you can't, it's the old, you can't teach speed. And he is as fast end to end as anybody, I'll say in the country. And it's like, it is, what a weapon. What a weapon.
Yeah, well, think about me at courtside. That was me calling the Howard Moore swing, the
Yeah.
Wisconsin swing at UIC, and I'm just like draining the clock and not being able to get a shot. And then you reverse that, and now you're seeing a team that's scoring in 10 seconds or less. That is what the players love to be able to score as fast as they can. That is part of Rob Eson's plan. This is what happens when you hang around college coaches and also NBA. I think he has a connection with the Sacramento Kings before he got the UIC job. And so I love when a coach can be able to learn. You just don't sit there and just say, "Well, I know what's best." He's learning all the time.
Yeah.
He's very observant in the college game and the NBA game and says, "Okay, if I've got dynamic guards, we're going to get up and down the floor here. We got to beat the defense. Give ourselves a chance." And so, as a play-by-play guy, it keeps you enthused, right? You're sitting up
Sure.
straight, a little straighter in your chair, like, all right, here we go. We're going to try to score in 10 or 11 seconds. Now, you make sure you got your notes ready because they're going to fly right past you. Hold on to them because your notes going to fly over the floor. That's how fast those guys was. So, and I think, as I mentioned to you, Jeff, I think that dynamic changes a little bit. The guards, I think, can still be fast, but I still think the size from the foul line down will matter. because last year we had so many guards that could be able to do what you're talking about. But Ahmad's going to be able to still provide some of that speed, which I love.
Schedule wise, man, it's for a new team and for a team that certainly we have expectations of outperforming the early prognostications. It's a very manageable schedule that I think you can get in a conference above 500 and maybe by a lot. You got 4 home games. Looking at you're going to Daytona Beach for the boardwalk battle for your MTE, and then really from a metric standpoint, you're at Oregon State, you're at Yale. Those are the 2 toughest games. The Torvik, projections, it's all Q3, Q4 games. So those are, it's not, you're not lining up 6 money games that you got to go just survive as much as anything. What stands out about, I'm sure there's some disappointment about only 4 home games, but what stands out for the schedule for you?
What stands out to me is that in Daytona, the flies were a big problem. We were there last year. We're in that same tournament last year. The flies were a major problem. I'm looking down at my notes, and there's 2 flies circling the entire time, and I'm just like, please, in that arena, God Almighty, the same arena in which Hulk Hogan turned heel, by the way, in Daytona Beach, Florida.
Oh,
So I'm there, and so the flies were a problem in Daytona. That's one. But no, when you have the resume that the Flames had last year, especially at home,
sure.
take it on the non-conference, hard
Nobody
for
wants
people
to
to pick
play
up
it.
the phone.
Yeah.
Hard to pick up the phone.
Yeah.
You see our schedule.
Yeah.
Hard for people to want to be able to match up with that because they said, well, we don't want that. We don't want that L. It's Rob Eson. It's a fast offense. It was difficult, I think, at times for Rob to be able to find the opponents that he wanted. But I think that there's some learning experience there. You had to finish up the one-on-one, as you mentioned, with Yale. Yale was surprised. Very well coached, by the way, Yale. But to be able to go there, be interesting. Going to Charlotte, I think it'll be interesting being on the road there. That's later on in the schedule. The Oregon State game, again, a learning experience, not a game that you will roll over for. I
Right.
think that's a game that the Flames, if you shoot the ball well, you can be able to win. So I like those challenges, win or lose, because when you get in the conference play, there's no messing around because there's no one is just going to roll over for you in the conference. So you want to play as well as you can in non-conference. I think it's very interesting that we're able to cobble the schedule together. At least someone picked up the phone, Jeff, to be able to play the mighty Flame.
I say 4 home games. It's kind of 4.5. You go across town and go play Chicago State, so you get to at least sleep in your own bed that night. Yeah, I mean, there are, and I would think that, and I would hope certainly at this level in the Valley that there aren't really any teams that should be able to look at their schedule on October the 10th and go, that's a loss. I know you don't have any of those. I mean,
Right.
You can make arguments that you can run the table. It's certainly going to be challenging, and there are some. High Point is a very good basketball program. They said Yale's very good. It's a long trip to Oregon State, but manageable, and so certainly hope you can get some confidence rolling into Christmas and into conference play. All right, like I said, I guess in the official Missouri Valley poll, you're either tied for 6th or tied for last, however you want to look at it. Blue Ribbon had you in at 9th a year ago. I believe 12 out of 12. And you certainly far exceeded that expectation. I feel like from the last 20 minutes of talk that you have a level of optimism that you guys can outperform the early returns.
Absolutely. And that was a rallying cry for the team last year because Coach Eson, the coaching staff, the players were not happy that they were picked last. And you always use that for bulletin board material. Or actually, Jeff, now it's dry erase board, isn't it? Do we use bulletin boards anymore?
I haven't seen a push pin in a decade. So, yeah, it's all sticky notes and dry erase. Yeah.
So I think that's dry erase board material now that they looked at. There were some T-shirts that were passed around saying that we're last and we're going to find a way to dig out of it. And the Flames did. And so for this year, I'm sure they'll find something else. But again, no one knows anything until we get basketballs in the air. Until we find out, no one knows that. All I know is that I really like the way this coaching staff has gone about their business because there's a mission statement. I've said this on talk shows, and I say this as a play-by-play guy. If you have a mission statement, if you stand for something, then I know that at least you have a goal.
Right.
if you have no goal, then what's the point? You're just rolling the basketball out. But I think what they want to do offensively is getting up and down the floor. They want to be able to be a much better defensive team they were last year. But I feel like Isan and the coaching staff have a plan. And I just tell you, from my years of doing this, there's some coaches in games I called. There was no plan. So a lot of miles and a lot of teams. So a lot of coaches had no plan, but this coaching staff definitely a plan.